This is the second in a two-part series on the number one cause of Alzheimer's, the number one risk factor. If you haven't guessed what it is, you can go back to the first one or you just watch this one. This one's got a lot of very interesting information. For example, you know those GLP-1s, the Ozempic, some of those weight loss drugs? Did you realize there's some potential impact on the brain in terms of brain diabetes or brain insulin resistance? Did you know that that's really a thing? In fact, Wake Forest long ago did some research on using nasal insulin to help memory in Alzheimer's patients. There's some interesting connections here. Take a look.
And we have talked about the benefits of using GLP-1s, both for weight loss, for insulin resistance, for glucose metabolism. But even at least on a theoretical basis, according to this article, there is a positive impact of increasing the levels of GLP-1s on the brain. And the same idea, if you are decreasing insulin resistance in the body, you can do that on the brain with GLP-1s, at least theoretically. Of course, there are more studies that need to be done on this regard, but this is part of the phenomenon. This specific mechanism and this view of the inner cell has been done on mice, so that's why you don't see it ready to be extrapolated for all the population. Just a way that researchers are trying to explain why insulin resistance is impacting too much on the development of Alzheimer and why we're seeing this type of result on population-based studies. But one thing I learned with Dr. Brewer, and this is something that I didn't know at the time, is you look for that and you look for type 3 diabetes, it's gonna lead you to Alzheimer's, just because of the mechanism or how the disease gets developed. Anything to
Thought I was going to jump in with a comment, didn't you?
I would love to, because I do my best trying to explain this stuff. Sometimes I go into a very technical bonnet hole. I don't want my technicalities get in the way of explaining the more important thing related to this.
Yeah, you know, that's why I love having you on board so much. This is difficult stuff to try to, on one hand, talk about cutting edge medical science and medicine, and then on the other hand, cutting it down to something that's really clear to folks that haven't spent hours and days and months and years and decades in that space. Because unfortunately, we can't depend on our current medical group manpower. They're just too overworked to stay in touch with all of the new stuff. And to get back to the point you were bringing up a minute ago, this connection between diabetes, insulin resistance, and Alzheimer's or cognitive decline has become so strong that cutting-edge medical scientists are calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes.
And I was going to say a comment, and I don't want this to seem that now I'm bashing to other specialists. You talked about guacamole medicine, right? Can you talk a little bit more about that? I think you can explain that more than I do.
I didn't come up with that. I think it was David Sinclair. I was talking about guacamole medicine, and actually that brings up a good point. We should go back and get that group of slides that demonstrates exactly what's going on. So you've got neurologists, and at about age 40, they don't really have that much. They have a little bit of stuff during birth, and then not so much until about age 40. And then diseases start picking up at age 50 and 60 and then 70. And then it just really starts going up like that. Cardiologists, whole different specialist, a whole different organ system. Again, you get a blip around birth time and then nothing, no disease until about age 40. And then it starts cranking up 50, 60, 70. It just, again, hockey puck. What's the next disease? Oh, renal medicine, kidney doctors. Same thing. When we go through the whole process of being born, there's blips there, and then nothing until the 40s, and then you get that hockey stick. What else am I not thinking about? Oh, the eye doctors. Same thing. And all of these doctors study organ systems. You don't have any doctors that really focus on the cell. And that is the problem. These issues, these chronic diseases, they're, quote, normal processes of aging aren't normal. Most of them aren't nearly as, quote, normal as we think. That's the real opportunity. They are aging processes within the cells, which are causing a multitude of diseases. And so the whole concept about guacamole is you deal with the brain problem, and then you're going to get a heart problem. You deal with a heart problem, you're going to get an eye problem. You deal with an eye problem, you're going to get a kidney problem. And, there is, again, a common denominator here, and that's the cell and the cell's inability to manage insulin resistance. That's the major component of this. There are other components as well. David Sinclair did a great job in terms of looking at multiple different types of cellular aging, which I won't go down that bunny hole, but there's about 9 or 10 bunny holes there. Information, how DNA gets jumbled up, the mitochondria and problems associated with that, autophagy. But again, one of the biggest ones being inability to manage or to metabolize carbohydrates.
And thank you, Dr. Brewer, because that's something that I wanted to bring to the people this time. And if you go to each specialty, they're really good on their field. No question about that. They studied that for years, and they know really specific things, and they can get you from a lot of trouble. That's for sure. But then when you see this type of topics, and then you think there are a lot of neurologists out there that are not too familiar with insulin resistance and how to identify that and deal with that. That's the issue, because they're really good on treating the symptom, on treating the consequences on the best of their abilities. But then you have to go back to the root causes, and they're not trained to do that. That's why you're supposed to have at least general practitioners that go out from med school, or family medicine doctors, and then you have preventative medicine doctors, and everybody do prevention in a different way. And we forget one of the more common things and one of the root causes, and not everybody is trained enough to deal with this stuff. And that's one of the issues of actual medical care. I know there wasn't a specialty. I don't know if that's a thing on the US still. In Mexico, it lasted for a couple of years. That it was called integrative medicine. And the idea behind that was to combine all these root causes and try to figure out a way to make a more integral way to do prevention. And it didn't last in Mexico. I don't think we understood the concept. I don't know in the US that's still a thing.
Integrative medicine is more of a grassroots type of approach. It's been poorly organized in terms of academics. Given my role, I used to run the program at Johns Hopkins on teaching, training doctors coming through preventive medicine. It tended to lean a lot towards public health, which was okay, but it tends to be bureaucratic and swallowed up in government bureaucracies. The academic rigor behind the preventive side just wasn't as good as you saw in most of the other specialties. You still see that problem. So you see other groups coming in. Again, given my role, I trained a couple of the presidents of the American College of Preventive Medicine, a couple of the recent past presidents, and they used to complain and whine and fuss about other groups like functional medicine docs coming in and trying to poach in their space. And I've been to some functional medicine groups. In fact, Dale Bredesen's training program was taken up and endorsed and organized within the functional medicine groups. Academically, they have not been as rigorous. Their epidemiology side, the folks that look at and provide a canon or quality associated with the science, is not as good in that group as it is in the other preventive medicine groups, but it's still just not strong enough.
All right, so bottom line, the thing we talked about too much and a lot on this channel, and we need to keep talking about it because I think we're saving more and more lives whenever we discuss that. Insulin resistance is more dangerous than you might think. And I'm going to steal your thunder right now, Dr. Brewer. This is a quote from Dr. Brewer, not mine. If your doctor tells you that you have a touch of sugar, be afraid, be very afraid, because as you see, just a touch of sugar, insulin resistance, can lead you to a really, really ugly path of heart disease. And now we're talking about Alzheimer's, that I can say it might be even worse. If you get a heart attack and you end up there with a heart attack, hey, I mean, it shouldn't happen that way, but at least it ended. It's worse when you are living on this world and you don't even remember a thing. The pain, the struggle for yourself and your family, it is just terrible. And just by taking a look back at your own risk of developing insulin resistance might save you from that path.
Good point. You're right. I've gotten too predictable. You knew where I was going. Looking to improve your health and add decades to your life? Join me in the PrevMed team December 1st and 2nd in Tampa, St. Pete for the Heart and Stroke Prevention event. This is an event, not just a conference. You'll not only learn how to prevent heart attack and stroke using my battle-tested methods, you'll also access accurate, predictive testing that the majority of physicians never use because they don't know how. All you need to do is click the link below this video or simply go to PrevMedHealthTampa.com to sign up. Hope to hear from you. Thanks.